Good morning, Karthik.
Good morning. So I hope you can able to see my screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So yesterday I have shared that prerequisites Excel sheet over the WhatsApp group, and I have given the access for drive access. I hope everyone having the access.
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay. So who does not have the access, you just reach out to me. You know, I will provide the access.
Okay, sir.
Could you please go on mute, Kritika? Fine. See, Shiva, I think so. I did not provide the access for you.
No, sir. No,
Yes.
DevOps.
Yes. So could you please ping me your email address? Let me provide the access.
Okay. What?
Oh.
Vivo?
Through WhatsApp, you just ping me.
Okay.
Okay. Right. And fine. So already have given the introduction, Shiva. You just please look into that. Okay. I just given the introduction.
Okay, Karthik. Okay.
All right. From today onwards, we are going to start the lab. Cool then. All right, Shiva. So I think so most of the participant has joined. Fine. So we'll kickstart. So this is, you know, our flow, which I'm going to walk through. So first tool, we are going to understand the Git. Git, it is nothing but it is a version control. So ideally, why we are using this version control, you know, in this tool, we can keep all the code and, you know, the integration tool or testing or security team, if they want to clone the code, they can able to clone from this repository itself. So version control, we do have three tools which it is available. I mean, three tools which it is available in the market. If you go for version control, so the first tool I would say Git and SVN Subversion, right, and Azure repo. So we do have three repos which it is available in the market, but at this point in time, widely we are using Git. More, I would say, you know, more than 75% of organization they are using Git repo. So what is the major differ between this three tools? See, behind of Azure repo, even they are using GitHub because that's a Microsoft product. So behind of that, you know, they do have Git. But when you go for SVN and GitHub, GitHub, it is distributed repository. It is distributed repository, and it does not have I mean local repo. Here when I say distributed repository is nothing but local repo plus remote repo, that we can call it as a distributed repository. But when you go for SVN Subversion, here we do have a remote repo, we don't have local repo. Fine. So what is mean by local repo, remote repo? Bit later we'll discuss, but at this point in time, this is the major differ between Git and SVN. Okay, so when you go for Git, as I told you, ideally, you know, we are using in most of the real time, we used to work at your local repo. Then finally, the code, if it is getting succeeded, then architect will come to this picture. They will review the code, what you have done. Then they used to merge into that remote repository. So first, let's try to understand Git. So of course, you know that the DevOps flow, DevOps image, if you go. So the first activity, we need to understand, you know, plan. So plan is first activity. When you go for the plan, you might heard about Confluence dashboard, Jira dashboard, or Kanban dashboard. So for planning, we do have multiple dashboard. Let's say for planning, I would say, Azure repo, Azure board we do have, and ideally we are using Jira dashboard and Kanban, Kanban dashboard. So these all are the board which we are planning. Using by this board, we can plan. See, when I say the plan, it's nothing but let you consider any project. We do have ABC project. So for this ABC project, uh, we need to set it up the timeline. Let's say December 16, 2021, I want to release this product. The product delivery will be there, right? So in this case, how can we create the sprint? When I say sprint, it is nothing but for each project, we can create the task for this week. That let you consider the database team want to create some schema table, and application team want to insert some code. And for this week or for this 10 days, I can create one sprint. So until complete that sprint, the next task or next activity we are not going to pick. So for first 10 days, being as a DevOps engineer, ideally we do have the Scrum Master for each team. So the Scrum Master, they are going to create the sprint. Under the sprint, they used to create multiple stories. Stories. Okay. See, it's nothing but a planning tool. Right now, I don't have access. Probably tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I'm going to get the access for Azure board. So practically, let me demonstrate. So if you go for any project, let's say I want to deploy, if you go for migration activity, right? So ABC is your application. We got this project from entire application to microservices architecture. We need to convert. That is your project. So for this project, we have set the timeline, and after fixed the timeline. So based on that, we need to define the task for each team. So for this activity, we need support from database team, and let you consider web server team and application team, security team, and risk management team, right? And all the multiple team inputs we require to do this project. So in this case, first what we used to call it as, I can call it as sprint. So usually you might heard who all are working in the corporate, you might heard what is mean by sprint. Sprint, it is nothing but, let's say for one object they used to create depends assumption based. I'm telling let's try to create a 10 sprint. For each sprint, I can give the set of activity, and we can follow the sprint. First sprint, if it is done, then it will goes to second sprint and third sprint, like this we used to follow. I'm talking about the plan. Under the sprint, we do have multiple stories over here. If you go here, multiple stories. When I say stories, it's nothing but task under the sprint, right? So under the stories, I can assign the stories for, let's say, I can assign for Shiva, and one more stories I can assign for, Kritika. So I could assign this task for the particular, engineer we can assign. Then based on the effort time, let them complete. And once if it is done, then they can move into, other sprint. So this activity, where can we do using by this planning tool? I'm just going to walk through the Azure board. Once I get the access, I'm just going to walk through, right? So I'm facing some credit card issue. That's the reason my Microsoft Azure account, it's not getting open. These are license-based, Jira or Kanban. These are license-based. Even it is also chargeable, but it's quite less.
Karthik, Kumar.
Yes, Ram.
This planning tool means assigning, splitting the jobs into small units and then sharing it with the team. Is that
perfect? Perfect. You're right. You're right. So that's what, yeah, for entire project, we do have multiple activity. So for that multiple activity, one person cannot able to take it forward, right? So let's try to divide those tasks. I mean, divide the story and assign those story to the respective team or respective person. So let them complete within the effort time. So accordingly, the Scrum Master will be there for each project. So the Scrum Master has to define the task, and based on that, the engineers, they are going to work on the particular effort, particular activity within that effort time. Then finally, we could able to deliver your project on time. So that this activity, there is some epic stories, multiple terminology we are using. So that's what I stated. Once I get the access, practically let me demonstrate. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So see, here some freshers also are there. If you do have any questions, you can stop me and ask. Might be you may not be aware of the naming conversion which I'm using. So if you're not feeling comfortable, you just do let me know. I can address those questions. And while doing the practice, if you are facing any challenge, see, my shift time already stated 11 to 7, so that would be my shift time. If you're facing any challenge or if you want to talk to me, you can book the slot over the WhatsApp group. You can book the slot. 9 to 9:30, you can book the slot. So 2 slots are available. Okay, so for each slot 15 minutes. So today, if anybody booking the slot, so tomorrow you just skip other participant, let them book the slot. Right now, I do have only 2 slots because I need to consider other batch participant as well. So if you're not able to do anything, you just book the slot over the WhatsApp. I will share the link. You can join one-to-one. I can clear your doubts. All right. So this is the timing. You just reach out to me if you have any technical queries. Apart from that, between this time, I'll be in office work, so don't disrupt me. So we can connect within this particular time. All right. So now let's try to jump into the code. This is what, version control. So once the developer, if they have created the code, we need to keep the code at the particular place. Then if you want to do that testing or any security analysis, we can pull the code and do the test. All right. So now what are we going to do in the sense? Let you consider we do have multiple developers. They are sitting at your floor, right? So for each developer, they are creating some code for your application. So once if they have created the code, they have to store this code at somewhere, right? So let you consider we are a Python developer, right? We are a Python developer. We are creating some code. I can use any IDs. Let's say I'm using by Visual Studio. Those are IDs. I can use Visual Studio or Eclipse, right? Or Red Hat Core Space, Red Hat Core Space. So multiple IDs are available in the market. So using by this ID, I can create the code, and it's gonna be saving at our local host itself. I mean, your laptop itself. We are storing all the code. I don't want to keep all the code at your local host itself, so I can push into Git repo. what are the codes which I'm creating. Once done, you just push all the code into the Git repository. Then if your local host, if it is crashed, that doesn't matter. We could able to retrieve the code from, the repository itself. So that's the reason we are using, Git repository or any version control. At any given point of time, what are the codes which we created? Let's keep at the centralized place. If my local host, if it is destroyed, that doesn't matter. We could able to retrieve the data, the code from the repository as well. So this Git repo, it has the architecture. Let me open that architecture. So it does the architecture, accordingly, we could able to create and push the code into that particular place. So this is the architecture for Git, right? It is architecture. The Git, it has, two repository already stated. So that's the reason we used to call it as distributed repository. So Git, it has two repo. When I say local repo, which it is nothing but your, local laptop itself, that would be considered, local repo. And one which it is remote repo, which it is cloud, right? So first, let's try to understand local repo. How can we install this local repo to your laptop? Let's consider first you need to create one folder. So once if you created the folder, this folder you can convert it as your repository. Once if you convert it as your repository, so that folder would be considered local repo. So after if after converted the repository, under this repository we do have three virtual workspace. These are virtual workspace, right? These are not physical workspace. Let's consider, so I'm just creating one file. Let's say file JSON file I'm just creating. So when I'm creating this file, initially this file will be in the working directory. These all are virtual workspace, not physical, path. It does not have. So under the folder, after installed Git, it's gonna be creating three virtual workspace. Let's consider once if you created the file, so those file it's gonna be available at your working directory. What are the files if it is at working directory? Those file would be considered untracking file. So what is the use case of Git? Using by this Git, we need to track the file. How many times have you did the changes with an existing file? How many files have you newly created for the sprint 1, and how many files have you created for the sprint 2, and what are the logs which the developer they do have? All this category we could able to track using by this version control. So the version control has to track the file. So then, and there we could able to capture those logs from, for each developer, and we could maintain the logs. And at the end of the moment, the stakeholder, they may ask you, what was your progress? Could you please, submit your the logs from the development perspective? I could go and submit all these logs which we have done during the sprint, right? So now we need to track the file. So if you want to track the file, those file you just push into staging area. Once if you pushed into that staging area, right, so that file would be considered tracking file. So Git started to tracking of your file. Let's say Kritika, she has done some changes within the same file. Ram Kumar, he has do some modification. So two logs we do have. Kritika, she has done and he has done. So all the logs we could able to capture under the staging area. So once if they have done their changes, then those code we can push into the local repo. Once if you pushed into the local repo, I mean, once if you committed, that would be considered track to file. So Git, it is not going to listen. So untracking file, tracking file, track to file. So Git only will listen under the staging area. It's not going to be listen working directory and local repo. Uncommitted, committed file, it is not going to listen. Only, tracking the file, it is going to listen. And once if you committed into the local repo, then that would be considered the final code to deliver into the non-prod or prod. So then we could push all the code from local repo into centralized repo. Then Jenkins tool will be here. The Jenkins tool, it's gonna be pulling the code from your remote repo, because all the tracked file we are pushing into a remote repo. Then it's the Jenkins mission, it's gonna be pull the code and push into the testing team can analyze the code and find the strength of your code. And once again, build team will come back to this picture. Build team has to compile and build as a package of var dot jar dot yar. So some extension should be there and they can go for deployment. So ideally, first let's try to understand, local repo. Then we can go back to understand, remote repository as well. Any questions on this? Do you have any questions?
Hello, Karthik.
Yes.
I have one question.
Yes,
After the Git commitments, which code will be deployed? You said Kritika and also Ramkumar also changes to same file, correct?
Yes.
After Git commitments, I mean after Git push means will code will be deployed in test server.
Both. So what she has done, see, I have given it is an example. Let's say Kritika, she has done some changes with the second line. She has to commit. Then only we can create the log for Kritika. If she did not commit, if still it is in staging area, Ramkumar, or if he has done some changes, he is committing, so this logs will goes to Ramkumar, right? So for each action, you need to commit and create the logs. That's quite important. So who has done the changes, using the logs, we could able to, check, right? So during the time for each developer, once if they have done the changes, let them commit and create the logs.
Okay.
All right.
Hello.
Yes, Sabari.
Yes. What is JIT? JIT is so online storage or
No. Git, it is a repository. Okay, so when I say repository, it's nothing but it's a server. In terms of calling server, that naming conversion we used to call repository. What are the code which we are creating, right? For each project, we can keep all the code into the repository server. We should
Okay.
not save at your local host. Only code.
Okay.
Okay, you can store your code in this repository itself.
Okay.
All right. Others, do you have any question?
Last question for me. The naming, why there is a lot of changes in the name instead of repository? Would it be easy if you call this just server or storage or something? I'm sorry if it is very tough question.
No, I'm sorry. Repeat your question.
There is a lot of name changes here, like we calling a server as a repository.
Yes, of course. See, these are
So
agree. See, naming convention is nothing but for our identity purpose. Okay, it's not going to make any rocket science over here. It's our identity purpose for each tool. They do have their own naming conversion to understand, and some functionality differ will be there. Okay, practically let's try to demonstrate that you could understand. Fine. So first, let's try to build a local repo. Could you please go on mute? Okay, so first let's try to configure your local repo. What you can do in the sense, you just create the folder at your local host itself. Already I just created the folder, which it is okay. All right, so I'm just going to delete this folder. Okay, I'm just going to creating the folder. Let's say it is morning, morning 7 a.m. repo folder. That's my folder. So this folder, let's try to convert it as a repository. We need to initialize. You need to download that Visual Studio. Yesterday I have shared the link over the WhatsApp group. So you need to install, download that Visual Studio package and please make it ready. Right. So once if you open that Visual Studio, you can open the particular folder. Do you need that link? How to download Visual Studio?
Yeah, it would be great if you
No,
could
I have
share it
shared.
now.
I have shared over the. Over the WhatsApp group itself. Once again, let me share. So you can go and download. So you just go to this link. I will post over the chat box. I have shared the link. You just please try to download that Visual Studio for Windows based on your OS platform. And once if you download it, you can open that Visual Studio code. You can go with the Visual Studio code, not Visual Studio. Fine. So let me try to open the folder. I'm just going to open the folder which it is. We created morning 7 a.m. repo. I'm just opening this folder. So once if you open, then I could able to see the folder which it is morning 7 repo. And in this Visual Studio, if you want to open the terminal, you have the icon here. See, I just hit on this and you can right, so go to your terminal as well, because if you onboarded into this DevOps platform, we don't have UI. We don't have GUI. Most of the tools we are going to executing using by CLI, right? So here we do have the terminal, and now this repository we need to convert it as a, this folder we need to convert it as a repository. So what is the command to convert it as a repository? If you go for Git, all the commands, it will start from Git. When you go for Docker, the command will start Docker. Kubernetes, the command will start kubectl. Ansible, the command will start Ansible. So now this folder, let's try to convert it as a repository. You can use this command git init. Once if I do this command, see now it's telling initialized as a repository, git repository. So using the single ad hoc command, you can convert it as a repository of this folder. So once converted, now under this folder, we do have 3 virtual workspace. If you want to list down any files under the working directory, you can use the command which it is ls. If you want to list down any files under the local repo, you can use git ls -files. So it will list down what are the files, if it is under the local repo. There is no command for staging area. So you can use the ls command for, it's going to be listing what are the files which it is under the working directory. And you can use git ls -files. So it's going to be listing down of what are the files which it is available in the local repo as well. So this repository, let's consider this repository, it's going to be part of, belongs to whom? We need to create the credential. Then what are the files which I'm going to create? Those files which it is created by, let's say, Ram Kumar. Vibin, see, once if you joined, always go for mute, Vibin. I think so. Most of the session, you're not listening that. Vibin, yeah, sorry. Fine. So once if you convert and initialized as your repository, make sure you need to create the credential. How can we create the credential? You can go to the official website, username and email for Git. So here you just go to the official link. So here we do have the syntax. How can we create the username and email address for the particular repository? So I'm just going to copy this syntax. Let's try to give. I'm just going back and let me put it over here. So yes, so I'm just going to define the username. Let's say I just want to give the name. Let's say Balaj. So what are the files which I'm going to create? It is created by Balaj, and official email address if you want to configure. Let's try to configure his official email address. Let's say I just want to let's try to give the name Balaji at the rate IBM.com. You can give some official email address. So once if you given the credential, now let's consider this repository which it is belongs to Balaji. So what are the files which I'm going to creating? All the files it's done by Balaji. Let's consider he is trying to creating the file. I'm just going to creating the file. Let's say file1.txt, some file or Java or CSS, whatever. Okay, that is depends, but at this point for practice purpose, I'm just creating the file name which it is file1.txt. Let's try to create the file. So inside of the file, he started to, creating some statement. Let's say, I'm just going to, okay, let me share this link over the Excel sheet. You can go for username and email creation in Git. Use this link. All right, so this cheat sheet is available. It is available in Google Drive itself. You can, follow this. Okay. So what I'm going to do, let me copy some so let me copy some code. Let's say I'm just creating some HTML template over here. So Balaji, he has created file one and he has, insert some statement inside of the file. So let him save, Control X. Okay, let him save. So once if you saved, now you can come back to this terminal, Control L, clear the screen. Now let's say ls command, it is going to listing down what are the files which it is under the working directory, right? You can see ls, it is listing down file one which it is created. What is the command for local repo? Git ls-files. You can see the file will not list down. Why? It is not committed. So that is what I stated. You can see we are in same path, but all are virtual space. These all are virtual space. Working directory, it is listing down. Still, we did not commit. Once if you committed, then it will list down under the local repo as well. Right. So now you can see the status of your file, git status. You can use this command. Now it is telling it is untracked file. When I say untracked file, it's nothing but working directory. Make sense? Now, if you want to track the file, I can use the command git add. Once if you use this command, it's going to be adding into the staging area. Let's see here, git add file1.txt. Once if you add it, now let's say git status, it is tracking file. Now, if it is popping green color, that would be considered tracking file. So now I just done my job. So I'm just going to commit off this file. Let's say git commit. See, when you are committing, you have to write it on the message. -m, which it is representing message. right? So message is very important. Then, using by this message, I would say it's a tag name for this file. So I can say created file one for HTML. For HTML, I'm just passing this statement. I'm just going to create a file one. I'm just going to pass this tag name for this file. See, once if you committed, you can see git ls -file. The file it's going to list down. See, file1.txt, which it is in local repo. Previously, you can see it was not listing down. Previously, you can see it was not listing down. Now you can see it is listing down. So this file, see, for each commit, the git, it is going to creating commit ID. That is very important. How can we check the log? Git log. You can do this command. You can see committed ID will be there. And this file, which it is created by Balaj, when he created, today he has created at this time. And what is the tag name? Created file 1.html. If he want to see the statement using by this committed ID, he can able to see. Let's see. Okay, so you can see git show and commit ID. He can able to see the statement. What we have created those statement which it is available inside of the file. Make sense? So that is the architecture. See, initially I have created the file. So that file which it is under the working directory. What are the files which it is under the working directory? Those file, it's git, it is not going to be tracking. And the git, if does want to track those file, you just push into the staging area. And I have used the command which it is git add. And now the file which it is under the staging area, git started to listening of your file. And once if I have done the changes, let's try to commit those file into the local repo. Once if you committed, that would be considered tracked file. So when if it is in tracked file, if I do git status, it is telling there is no file one. So that is what I stated. So once if you committed, the git is not going to listen. So for run tracking, for tracked, it's not going to listen. Only it's going to listen tracking. So did you understand the architecture of Git? Any questions? Any questions?
These commands we are using, git log or git commit and git status, all those things. And do we just memorize that, or do you have any specific place where we can search for all those things?
You mean how to remember, right?
Yeah.
Of course, you have to remember, right? So then only they are paying good package. If you're not remembering, if there is some documents, anyone could able to pull the command and do execute. See, these all are not. If you onboarded into this DevOps profile, you just forget SOP process. There is no SOP process. When I say SOP process is nothing but if you're facing this issue, do this. If you're facing that issue, do this. No, it is only for infra level. When you go for the operation plus development platform, you cannot able to predict that bugs. Based on the bugs, we need to act. So there is no other chance. You have to remember all the command. So practice only will make sense.
Let me go to image once.
Yes.
Yeah, see, you are telling in working directory these are untracked, right? In
Yes.
staging area, we'll be able to track. In local repository, we can't able to track anything. Means we are not able to track anything. Means once it is committed, it will not show in the untracking or something like that. Is what you are mentioning.
You are perfect. Yes.
Okay, that means in working directory we cannot track. In local repo once committed, we cannot track. Only in staging area we are tracking.
Yes, you are right.
Okay.
All right. Sveta, are you getting? Satvika, Sanjana? Yes, Anupama. Yes, go ahead. Do you have question?
Yes. How will it work when two people are trying to modify the same file?
No. See here, that's what I stated, right? It is at your local host. In your laptop, you can do. In my laptop, I can do. When if it is going to syncing up with your remote repository, clashes will be there. That part in future session, I'm going to demonstrate.
Okay.
So right now, we I explained about this architecture. Still, I did not start any real-time stuffs.
Okay. Got it.
All right. Sweta, are you getting?
Yes, sir. I can
Okay.
understand.
Okay. Satvika,
Oh, yeah.
okay. Some freshers, I'm just filtering. I think so. All are experienced, rest of. Kritika, are you fresher or experience? So freshers, what? Yeah.
I am an experienced person, but not into software. I am into hardware, so this is new to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Balaji, you know that. Fine. See, I'm just see, experienced guys easily could able to pick my terminology words and could able to understand that concept as well, because already they are working in the process. I mean, if they are in different domain, also that doesn't matter. But being as a fresher, you guys has to stop me and get the answer. So if you are not able to understand, you just reach out to me. I could make you understand. Fine. All right, so that is what architecture. Let's try to kickstart some real-time stuffs over here. So Git, it has 14 concept. The 14 concept, it's very important. So day to day we are going to work. Okay, so that is very important. So first activity we are going to use how to create the tag name for committed ID. And second one, git stash, and third I would say git I mean git ignore, and fourth I would say master and branch, and fifth one which it is uh, I mean, first let's try to complete this 4. It will take another 3 hours to complete. Stash, I'm sorry. Stash. Okay, so let's try to understand one by one. Okay, so let me put it over here. It's task which are we going to understand. Right. This Excel sheet, which it is here, you can track. Okay, so it is here only. Okay, so already restricted. So already have added your email address. So no problem. You will get this access. Fine. So first, let's try to understand Git tag. Just come back here. See, these are Git log already showed you. It's gonna be capturing the logs who has done this file. Let me create one more file. I'm just going to create a file 2.txt. Let's say I'm just going to inserting some statement for practice purpose. Let's I'm sorry. I'm just going to inserting some statement. This is the first line. Let me try to uh, keep some statement. This is the second line. Some says statement for practice purpose. So I'm just creating, this is the second line, and this is the third line. Okay, let it be 2 lines. So let's try to track this file. At this point, you can go and see git status. Git status, you can see the file 2, it is not tracking. It is telling it's untracked file. So I'm just going to add a git add file 2.txt, and now you can see git status of this file which it is tracking. Now, once again, I'm just going to commit, write it on your message or my message, which it is created, file 2.txt. and just created the message. Now you can see git log. See, when you go for logs, right? I mean, committed history logs, right? Last action will be top of your history. What is your recent action? File 2. File 2 will be top of your history. File 1 will be next to that. So it is last in, first out. Make sense? So the recent action will be top of your history. You can see file 2, it is top. I mean, you can see the file 2, it is first file, and file 1, which it is second. So last recent action will be top of your history. So it is popping, lengthy committed ID. If you want to make shortcut, I can say git log --- one line. So it's gonna be popping, the 7 variable. I mean, yeah, 7 variable of history. So file 2, the first 7 variable, it is popping for file 1 for first 6, 7. So ideally, we cannot able to remember all these variables, right? So we cannot able to remember this. Right, so let's say I do have 100 committed file. I'm just asking you to pick the file of 91. It's quite hardly to understand which file belongs to 91. I mean, which history belongs to 91. So in that cases, we are configuring the tag name for human understand. I'm just going to give the tag name. You can see that git tag right now. I did not associating any tag name for the committed ID. I can go and configure the tag name. Let's say git tag. I can say that -a. When I say -a, it's attribute. I can say that, instead of this committed ID, I mean, I'm not going to replace the committed ID and just creating the tag name for this committed ID. Let's say created file 2. I'm just making the attribute, and for this committed ID, and write it down your message. My message is added a tag name for file 2. I'm just adding this, attribute name for this committed ID. Once if you have given, now you can see git tag one tag name, it is created for created file 2. So now you can ask, you just go and pick the file 2. So I can go and do git tag. I can see created file 2. Let me show git show instead of ID. You can use tag name. It's gonna be, it's going to be providing the statement. You can see this is the first line and this is the second line. It's popping that. Make sense? So tag name, I would say, you can see here tag name. It's nothing but defining I mean tagging the name. I would say tagging the name. I mean name for committed IDs. Make sense? So how can we give the tag name? Let's see. I'm just going to copy the commands. So git historical life and tail, which it is 10. So this is the command. You can see that I'm just going to define the tag name. I mean, using by this command, we could, all right, we could follow this. We can assign. Make sense? So ideally tag name using for human understanding. We cannot able to remember this variable. So that's a reason we just try to assigning the tag name, and using by the tag name, we could see what are the statement which they have inserted. I could go and do the show command. I could able to see, then I can pick the particular commit ID for your, based on your requirement. Make sense? The use case of git tag. Any questions on this? Anybody, do you have question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, is
Yes.
Karthik.
Yes, Sabari, go ahead.
This GitTag is just like the description or what type of uses?
No, it's not description. It's nothing but you are, are you able to remember this ID?
Yes, yes. That is on top of the log will be giving you that
No, no,
log
no.
ID.
No, my question was, are you able to remember this ID?
Mm,
No, are you able to memory this ID?
no, no, no.
So that's the reason we are assigning, we are associating some tag name,
Okay,
right?
okay, okay.
You can think that is alias name for them.
Yes, you can. You can. All right. Cool. So, that is called, git tag. Let's try to understand stash. Stash is very important, right? Let's consider we do have the developer, two developers are sitting, right? So let's try to understand the scenario. Based on the scenario only, we could able to understand the commands, because for all the command we cannot able to execute in real time. Based on your requirement only, you need to execute the command. If you do small mistake, it will impact your production, because these are pipeline, right? If I do small changes with your production code, definitely it's gonna be impacting to your production. So that's the reason. First, you need to understand the use case of command. Then you can apply the command at the particular place. If randomly applying the command, if it is unfortunately the file, if I deleted, then you can think about the escalation. It would be considered P1, right? So make sure the understanding is very important. See, Git, Jenkins, it is very easy. You could able to understand. But when I started the containerization and orchestration, it quite difficult will be there to understand, because scripting language will be there, quite difficult. But if you're strong in Git, Jenkins, that would be quite easy. So my suggestion, don't skip any session. Okay. But practice is very important. If you're not able to understand, please reach out to me. Feel free to ask. If it is chilly question also, I will address those questions. At end of the moment, you have to be clear with the concept, right? So that is, very important. You just focus on that. You can reach out to me at any point of time. I can help you out. Let's see here. We do have, two developer. So the developer, okay, let's go for the developer one. So what are the files which he is creating? Let's say he has created that file one dot, file 3 dot txt. He has created. So now this file, he is going to put into working directory, and just pushing into staging area. And right, so this is what we have discussed, right? So, and he can commit into the working, local repo itself. So this is the flow. The file, once if he committed the file, it's gonna be, see, duplicate copy will be there. File will be in working directory, as well file will be in local repo. You can see ls, two files you can see, git ls hyphen files also. Sorry, hyphen files, you can see two files, file 1 and file 2. So, copy of file always will be in the two place, but in staging area, no, it's only tracking. So now let's try to understand the sprint concept. Okay, so Rom, he has created 10 statement inside of the file, but first 5 statement which it is relevant of sprint 1. But in the advance itself, he has done 5 more statement for the next sprint. How can we divide the statement to the respective, sprint? How can we place? How can we commit? That's quite important. Fine. So let me pass it over here. We'll continue on tomorrow. So it would be the regular timing, 7 to 8. Okay, so this video I'm just going to upload after 10 o'clock. Once if I have done all the session, let me upload. You please follow this. If you have any questions, you just post over the WhatsApp group. Don't ping one-to-one. Please ping over the group so I could able to track you guys. Any questions if you do have, you can feel free to reach out to me. Let me pause it over here. We'll continue on tomorrow. Let's try to understand that stash concept. All right.
Yeah, Karthik, how many
Yes.
sessions we have already completed on DevOps?
Only one session, introduction only I have done. So which it is
Okay.
available in Google Drive.
Oh, can you please share the link in the chat, Karthik?
You just share me your email address over the WhatsApp group. I can share.
Yeah, Karthik. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Cool then. Thank you all. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good day, sir.